Welcome to Monthly Metz with Keith Metz.
Welcome to the Monthly Metz with Keith Metz, founder of the Metz Law Firm in North Carolina. Keith focuses on DWI, traffic violations, and misdemeanor criminal defense, helping people navigate charges that can affect their license, their record, and their future. I'm Lisa Mosby, your host, and today we're talking about how traffic tickets can add up in North Carolina and how too many can put your license at risk. Welcome, Keith. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you, Lisa.
My pleasure. Keith, a lot of people think of traffic tickets as minor issues. At what point do they stop being minor and start threatening someone's license in North Carolina?
Well, some of them can be minor, but they tend to build up. North Carolina has extremely strict rules on how they go about handling traffic tickets. First of all, they give full discretion and authority to the district attorney's office. So the DA's office in every single county gets to determine how they're going to reduce traffic tickets, what they're going to do, and how to prosecute them. But the DMV very specifically, they're dying to take your driver's license. So it sometimes can be very minor, but it sometimes can be very extreme. An example of something extreme is the DA's offices will not, under any circumstances, negotiate any reduction whatsoever if you hit 100 miles an hour or greater. So you might be doing 170 in a 70 and think, it's 30 over, which is kind of fast, but maybe not necessarily in a 70 mile per hour zone. That might be a minor traffic ticket in another state. In North Carolina, that is a big deal, which can lead to serious consequences, including your driver's license being suspended for a year.
Oh, interesting. So how does the DMV point system actually work, and what kinds of violations add the most risk?
Our system in North Carolina is actually very different from a lot of other states. I grew up in Florida, learned how to drive in Florida, and their system is entirely different from North Carolina. So North Carolina has what we call a two-tiered point system. So what that means is we have DMV points and we have insurance points, and they are mutually exclusive for one another. They are not the same. Even the amount of points for a similar charge are completely different depending upon whether you're talking DMV points or insurance points. DMV points are just used solely by the North Carolina DMV to determine your driving privileges. If you exceed a certain amount of DMV points within a 3-year time period, your license is going to be suspended. That magic number is 12. You cannot exceed 12. Insurance points, on the other hand, insurance companies don't suspend your driver's license. They insure you. Obviously, they determine what your insurance premiums are going to be. Their point system is a little bit different. They use those points to determine what your premiums are going to be. So when we talk dealing with points, we are sometimes talking about dealing with both DMV and insurance points. But usually, we're mainly talking about insurance points unless we're worried about your license being suspended.
And do both of them reset at the beginning of the year and start from zero again?
Not at the beginning of the year. The law on this actually recently just changed last year. It used to be every 3 years they would reset. It's every 5 years now, and it's not from the beginning of the year. It is from your conviction date. So if you're convicted on January the 1st of 2020, as of now, that will fall off and be completely irrelevant as of January the 1st, 2025. So that's sort of how that works. Convictions, however, even when the points fall off, do remain on your driving record forever. So if you get convicted of a speeding ticket today, 100 years from now, we'll be able to pull up your driving record and see that conviction that occurred in 2026.
So what happens once someone hits the threshold for suspension or revocation? Is it automatic, or is there another process involved?
Usually it's automatic. DMV is aware of that. What will happen is the DMV will send a letter to you roughly 1 to 2 weeks from the date that you were convicted. You'll get a letter in the mail where DMV is informing you that your license is about to be suspended. I will say that DMV is usually fairly good about timing this. They will usually time it in such a way that you receive the letter roughly 24 to 48 hours before your license is going to be suspended. So on the good side of that, at least you're going to be aware a day or two before it occurs. On the bad side, it doesn't really give you a lot of time to prepare or do anything about it.
And then, Keith, can multiple tickets close together make the situation worse than tickets spread out over time?
Yes, absolutely. So the biggest ways outside of high speeds that we will often see the DMV suspend for is if you have been convicted of two speeding convictions within a year of each other, where the speed is greater than 55 miles per hour. So, for instance, if you pled guilty in Mecklenburg County to a 60 and a 55, and then 6 months later pled guilty in Cabarrus County to a 69 and a 55, your license is going to be suspended. Another route is if you plead guilty to a speed in excess of 55 miles per hour and plead guilty to a reckless driving within a year time, same outcome, your license is going to be suspended. Two reckless driving convictions within a year is also going to suspend your driver's license. So there are different ways that these can sort of stack up that will lead to a license suspension. Any conviction of 15 miles per hour over the speed limit is going to lead to your license being suspended. Any conviction between 80 miles per hour and 89 miles per hour is going to lead to a 6-month suspension. 90 plus is going to lead to a 1-year suspension.
So you said 60 and a 55, and there's this I don't know, secret myth, I'll call it, that if you're going to speed, don't go more than 5 miles over the speed limit. Is there any truth to that? Or you can still get ticketed when you're only 5 miles over, and it can affect your license?
You can definitely still get ticketed. It happens rarely. Usually that just means the officer is having a bad day. But yeah, speeding is speeding. They don't discriminate on this. 1 mile per hour is still speeding. Over the limit is still speeding. I usually say the rule of thumb here is going to be 9 over. Don't exceed 9 over. That's usually where the officer's probably going to let you go. He's probably not even going to pull you over. You might still get ticketed. Don't take that to mean, hey, Attorney Metz said just do 9 over. I'm not going to ever get a ticket. No. I just mean that you might not get pulled over to 9 over, but you still might. The officer might still stop you for that, and you can still be charged with it. But even if you are charged with it, it does help us negotiate with the DA to get a better reduction for you. Obviously, the lower the speed that you are charged with, the easier it makes it for me to negotiate a better outcome for you.
And then I heard you also mention 55 several times in there, that there is a greater chance or more harm to your license over the 55 mile per hour limit. Is there truth to that? That's a magic number, that you don't want to be going over 55 when you have a traffic incident?
Yep, that is in our law. That is, it's a statute, and excess of 55 miles per hour is our legislator has made that cutoff. Our DMV absolutely enforces that to the fullest extent that they can. Like I said, 2 convictions in excess of 55 miles per hour will suspend your driver's license. This also, I also need to clarify, applies to out-of-state convictions as well. So if you are speeding in South Carolina, it's going to be reported in North Carolina. And if you had a previous conviction recently in North Carolina and then say in South Carolina, your license might be suspended from those 2 convictions. So it's not just North Carolina convictions. DMV will receive convictions from out of states. They will apply them accordingly on your driving record.
And Keith, if somebody already has several points on their record, what options might exist to reduce the damage or prevent a suspension? Is there anything?
Yep. So this is where hiring a lawyer is definitely going to come into play. We have certain things that we can do depending on the situation, depending upon several factors. What you were charged with, if it's speeding, how high is the speed, what's your driving record look like, and what are the policies in that DA's office. Every DA's office has different policies and how they handle certain things. Thresholds are different for different DA's offices. Some have similar policies that differ in certain ways. So a lot comes down to the district attorney's office as well and what policies they've set. But the tools that we normally use in order are going to be, first, we seek for a reduction if it's a speeding ticket to improper equipment. I always want to be clear. DA's offices are not dismissing your speeding ticket. I don't care what lawyer you spoke to. I don't care they don't dismiss these speeding tickets in North Carolina. There are certain very exceptional situations at various points in time, especially in Mecklenburg County, where certain speeding tickets were dismissed. But by and large, the norm, they don't dismiss these. So the first thing that we look for the best deal is going to be called improper equipment. Effectively, what this means is there is a defective piece of equipment on your car. Usually it's written up as your speedometer, sometimes your muffler. But that is what that means. That gets 0 points. So you get nothing for an improper equipment. Court costs and fines are a little bit higher in this. You pay somewhere between $266 to $286, depending upon what county it's in. But that's going to be the number one option. Number two is going to be a reduction to a 9 over. This is kind of a big one. We use this one a lot. The reason is because DMV will assess DMV points on this. Insurance companies will not assess insurance points by law. There's a caveat, there's a trick to this though. If we're getting you a 9 over reduction, it must mean 1, you have not had any other moving violations on your driving record for the past 5 years. This is per North Carolina law. And this also includes no at-fault car accidents. That is a car accident that you were involved in where you were not found at fault for. If the speed, whatever speed that you were charged with, is reduced down to a 9 over, and those two rules apply, no moving violations in the last 5 years, no at-fault accidents in the last 5 years, then DMV, they do what's called a waiver. Sorry, I keep saying DMV. I mean, insurance companies will do a waiver. Your insurance company will waive any points that you would receive for that 9 over. DMV, on the other hand, is still going to issue you 2 to 3 points depending upon the speed zone that you were in. If it's in 55 or greater, it's going to be 3 points. If it's under 55, it's going to be 2 points. So that's going to be option number 2 that we often look at. The third, the most misunderstood of them, is going to be the prayer for judgment continued, or PJC. I often also hear plenty of people call it the peanut butter and jelly. It gets all kinds of funny nicknames. It is prayer for judgment continued, or PJC. What this requires that I do is that I plead you guilty to the charge. So let's say you were charged with evading a 65 and we need to use a PJC. I plead you guilty to that aiding a 65. And then I ask the judge to grant a prayer for judgment continued. The judgment is the important word here. Judgment is your punishment. Usually for speeding tickets, punishments are going to be points from both DMV and insurance. So what the judge is doing is the judge is saying, I'm going to continue your judgment forever. I'm not going to enter judgment against you, which means I'm not going to punish you. So thank you for pleading guilty and accepting fault for this. I'm going to waive your punishment. And that waiver of punishment means you don't get any insurance points. You don't get any DMV points either. You are only eligible for these for the purposes of insurance once every 5 years. For the purposes of DMV, twice every 5 years. We use them the second time for DMV if you're in maybe about to have a suspended driver's license. It can come in handy sometimes. The other catch on this is if you have anybody else in your insurance policy and they've used it in the past 5 years, you're no longer eligible for insurance. And if they haven't used it and you use it, now nobody on your insurance policy is able to use it for the next 5 years. So it's per insurance policy, and whoever is shares that policy with you is going to be prevented from using a PJC for the next 5 years as well. The other drawback to the PJC, and why I try to use it as a method of last resort, is because it is very widely applicable. So if you say get a speeding ticket and we burn your PJC on that speeding ticket, and then 6 months later you run a stop sign or a red light, we can't get a different type of traffic reduction for you on these. We can't say get a 9 over, because it's 9 over and off of a traffic light doesn't make any sense. So sometimes it's better to get that 9 over in the speeding ticket, preserve that PJC in the event you get some other type of ticket, because we can use a PJC in a red light or a stop sign. But we can't use a 9 over on it. Finally, as I mentioned earlier, it requires me to plead you guilty to the charge. So if you've been charged with a higher speed, a lot of speeding charges in North Carolina are considered misdemeanor level. So they are class 3 misdemeanors. They are lowest level misdemeanor we have in North Carolina. But if we have to burn a PJC, it does mean that I'm going to have to plead you guilty to that misdemeanor. Now, traffic misdemeanors really don't matter all that much, but it does mean I'm going to have to use that. Sometimes we don't have any other options if we're talking about trying to save you from the DMV and trying to save you from your insurance company, which is why we try to look at the improper equipment and the 9 over first. But PJC, prayer for judgment continued, is definitely a viable option.
And where I want to leave it today, Keith, is for someone who just received another ticket and knows they're getting close to the limit, what should they be thinking about before simply paying it online?
Do not ever pay your ticket online. Do not do that. Don't do it if you've got a ticket out of state. Don't do it if you've got a ticket in North Carolina. Most tickets in North Carolina cannot be paid online. Most of them, not all, but most are going to require you to either hire a lawyer or to come into court yourself. I never, ever, ever advise you to simply pay your ticket online. If you are not a lawyer and don't understand the ramifications that can come with that, some people just think, I don't feel like dealing with it. I'll pay it online. I'll eat the insurance cost. That's fine. And then what happens is they very quickly have a suspended driver's license. So we don't want that. Nobody wants that. You can hire a lawyer to help you fix that, but it's going to cost you more money to do that. So I always recommend hire a lawyer. You can handle traffic tickets yourself, but likewise, going to court yourself is, to me, the same as trying to pay it off online. You don't really know how it's going to impact you, and it might have no impact at all, but it might have very serious ramifications for your ability to legally drive, which is important for, I think, most people. So I always recommend, if you get a traffic ticket, hire a lawyer, even if it's out of state, because if you're licensed in the state of North Carolina, as I mentioned before, those out-of-state convictions will definitely catch up with you here, and that could mean ramifications for you here. So even if you catch a ticket in another state, hire a lawyer in that state to handle it.
And Keith, thanks again for your insights today.
Thank you.
Folks, that's it for today's episode of the Monthly Metz. If you'd like to learn more about Keith Metz and his work at the Metz Law Firm, visit keithmetzlaw.com. If you're dealing with a traffic ticket or concerns about your license in North Carolina, understanding how the system works can make a real difference. Thanks for listening today, and don't forget to like, leave a review, and subscribe to the show so you don't miss the next episode. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.